Welcome back. Our next guest is known as the creator of Ross O'Carroll Kelly, whose exploits have been the subject of 19 novels, with number 20 on the way, selling more than 1 million copies. Wow. And winning 3 Irish Book Awards. Holy moly.
Incredible. He's now lending a hand to charity Goals fundraiser by hosting Ireland's ultimate sports quiz, and he's managed to squeeze in time to come in and chat to us. Paul Howard, you're very welcome.
Morning, Paul.
Fair to say friend of the show at this stage,
It's a pleasure to be anywhere apart
out
from
of the
home
house.
at this stage. This is the first couch I've sat on for about 3 months.
That's not your own
couch.
Well, I hope it's comfortable. We're
It's very
delighted to
comfortable.
have
It's
you
great to
in.
be
We're
back.
delighted to have guests in person, aren't we? Rather
Just the
than Skype.
20 books then, Paul.
Just the 20. It's
Just the
20 books
yeah.
in 20 years. I mean, I started Ross O'Carroll Kelly, and the first book was in the year 2000, and I thought it was going to be a trilogy, and I just never stopped.
You really didn't. Now, Bray is about to get a bashing, I'm guessing, is it? This one is called Bray Watch. Now, someone who lives in Greystones, this is on my radar, Paul. I'm very conscious of this.
Bray has had a bashing in every single Ross O'Carroll Kelly book, and I spent my teenage years in Bray and my 20s in Bray, and it's a town I love. And there he is there, you know, on the seafront.
Looking well.
With Brayhead behind him. And I spent so much time in Bray, and I love it. And somebody said to me about 2 years ago, why don't you write something like joyful about Bray? Why don't you write something positive about Bray? And I thought, why don't I?
Yeah.
So this book, Ross goes back and he coaches the Pres Bray Senior Cup team. His coaching career is just starting to take off, and he needs to take a school that doesn't have great ambitions, that's kind of just below the radar, and take them to greatness. And that's what he's about here. But for me, it was a great excuse to write about Bray, and a lot of the book is set in Bray, and it's a town I absolutely love.
I remember talking to you years ago about the volume of books that you write, and more of interest the process of how you write, because you like to think you're disciplined, aren't you, when it comes to your writing, or are you?
Yeah, I'm disciplined in that I get up very early in the morning to write, and that can, to outsiders, that can look like discipline.
But you set hours to write, to work.
I kind of have to. The lockdown was kind of good for me in that that's my perfect working environment. Not seeing anybody, being stuck in my office, a little bit like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. You know, getting up in the morning and sitting in an office and
but no distractions.
And no distractions. This spring I had 3 book deadlines, and I didn't know how I was going to make them. I was quite nervous about meeting those deadlines until the lockdown happened, and then suddenly I was in Avoca, and I had sort of 3-4 months where I couldn't leave the house, and that suited me. The zombie apocalypse side of the lockdown I didn't enjoy, but that part of it was
the productivity
was
side.
Yeah, it really helped.
Because there's a children's book in the mix here as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm working on a second book with Gordon Darcy. We did a book last year called Gordon's Game, which was Gordon wanted to write his autobiography but do it as a children's book. He didn't want to write a straight autobiography. And there's something about Gordon's story that really lends itself to telling as a kind of moral tale for kids. There's a lesson about losing your head and kind of discovering, right, this is what life is all about. And so we did a first book, and we've just done a second one, which we just finished writing, and that's out in October. So during the end of the kind of March, April time, we were just putting that to bed. So
and just because you're not busy enough, then you're going to be involved in a huge sports quiz that's going to be online this week. Tell us about that and who you're doing it for.
I'm doing it for Goal, and it's kind of a virtual table quiz, but it's online. And the plan is to find Ireland's biggest sports fan.
Wow.
And what's most exciting about this quiz is that all of the rounds, all of the questions have been set by famous sports people like Paul McGrath, Pádraig Harrington, Jenny Murphy. They've all set a round of questions. Andy Lee has set a round as well. So there's a boxing round, a football round, athletics, hurling, Gaelic football, and I'm going to be the quiz master. So it's next Thursday night. It's in aid of Goal, and it's to help Goals. They're doing amazing work in terms of the COVID-19 response in 13 countries, developing countries across the world. And
How do
really
people get
exciting.
involved, Paul? They just jump onto the website. And
Yeah, get onto the website. It's Goal Global, and there's a hashtag.
Yeah, we'll pop that up on the screen.
A forward slash and yeah, all that.
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen.
There it is.
It's right there.
And you just register. It's €10, and which isn't a lot of money, and the money is all going to goals efforts.
Very good.
Brilliant. Because this
in
is
the
you
developing
ultimately
world.
going back to your roots as an award-winning sports writer.
I have
I think people think Paul Howard and they just instantly think Ross O'Carroll Kelly. Unsurprisingly, you're 20 books in. That's going to be the instant association.
But when you say his name to me, I think the sports writer.
Sports writer,
Well,
yeah.
I took a 2-year sabbatical from sports writing about like 16 years ago.
Yeah,
and never
yeah.
went back again. But it is my first love. And it's the thing I missed most during the lockdown, you know. I
Live sport.
Oh, every week, you know, the football. My dad would ring me on a Saturday and say, did you get the results?
Yeah.
Like during the lockdown, even though there was no football on, just to know what it felt like.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I realised just when football came back that we had, my father and I, and actually my friends as well, we had nothing of passionate interest to argue about.
Yeah.
Because we agree on most things. We all agree on Trump, on world politics, on Irish politics. We all kind of have the same moral compass about all these things.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to my dad when the Premier League came back about whatever it was, 2 weeks ago. I was talking to my dad on the phone, and we were shouting at each other.
Really?
And we hadn't had raised voices on the phone for
Now, is your dad
since March.
you're a Liverpool fan?
I'm Liverpool, dad
Is
is
it?
Spurs.
Oh, holy moly,
And,
right, okay.
So we had the Champions League excitement.
Yes.
The final last year.
Yes, yeah.
And now football coming back again. We have something of passionate interest to get excited about.
You're so right, though. It is that universal language of sport or of football. It's that icebreaker, isn't it? Between, I'm thinking of my dad and my husband. Do you know what I mean? It's that easy conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And we
didn't
can
have it.
We can get upset at each other, and it's not going to change our relationship.
Yes, yes.
And there's a lot of things in the world at the moment where you fall out with each other, and you think, well, that's the end of that. We can never talk again. But football is something different, and sport is something different. We can have a row, and we can park it and say, you know, that's my dad, and I'm me, and
Yes,
you know,
and it makes it interesting.
yeah.
Just before
exactly.
we run out of time, Paul, because something else, another hugely successful string to your bow was, of course, the musical Copperface Shacks, which would have been on now. Would have been, you were heading to Cork, you were doing Dublin, but it's actually on tonight somewhere else.
It's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow
It's
night, sorry,
Sunday,
Sunday night.
in Leopardstown Racecourse, and we're doing it as a drive-in movie, which is really exciting because, you know, we put it on the stage. We two runs in the Olympia Theatre in Dublin, and we were supposed to do Cork and Limerick and the Olympia again this year, and we're heartbroken that we can't put it on again.
Yeah.
You know, so we decided, why not do it as a drive-in movie? And anybody who missed it this year, who had tickets for it, can go along. We're going to give the money for the event to charity. Like it's all
good.
going to
Lovely.
charity.
Very good.
But it's a chance for people who were maybe looking forward to it this year to see it again and see it in a totally different environment.
But it will be back.
Sitting in your car.
Yeah.
But you know, the cast are devastated. I mean, the
they
likes
are.
of
So we're
Michelle,
talking
and
to
we've had
Johnny
Johnny
last
Ward
year.
on the couch, and they're devastated that it's not there.
They are. You know, we had so much fun doing it last year and the year before. You know,
It'll be
we'd set
back.
out.
What
set
we can
out
do is cross our
theatres and-
fingers that it'll be back.
Yeah, we're hoping it'll be back next year. So the plan is anybody who bought tickets for this year's run, they will
go.
transfer to June of next year. Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks for coming in. Best of luck
Absolute
with
pleasure.
the quiz next week. I'd say it'll be mayhem, but it'll be great crack.
Thanks
No
a million,
arguments
Paul.
as
No,
I'd say.
exactly.
Thanks,
You
Alan.
can
Thank
find out more information on Goal's online sports quiz on their Goal Global website. Details are on the screen now.
Now up next, do you know your George Washingtons from your Abe Lincolns? Well, we're testing your American general knowledge to mark the 4th of July. Stay with us.